lead me to it, mate. When he said lead me to it, mate, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, this race is won.
Yeah.
It's on.
He ain't catching them. No matter.
No, not at Silverstone.
Just say, are we talking about Hulkenberg?
Yeah, I mean,
right
we
now?
are.
It's losing our
not gonna
minds.
happen.
It's crazy because I think Sergio has pushed us to this dark place.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Checo's fault.
It's crazy
It's
that we're
Checo's
talking
fault.
about this.
We got to
That's
keep
fine.
that receipt right there. If Checo stays in the Red Bull seat, then Red Bull does not win the Constructors. But Newey allegedly now not going to Ferrari. I saw that. Now he's kind of allegedly making a decision between McLaren and Aston. However, he's making these comments, quote, at the same time, I can also take a bit of holiday time. I've been kind of in the business pretty much nonstop for a long time now, so having a little bit of a break is nice.
So this was.
Does he consider calling it quits? I don't think so.
You don't turn down Science if he wants to go to Williams.
That's what I would
I
think.
think that's what'll come down to
Science.
money at that point is the only thing.
Yeah.
Science can join and say, "Hey, I'm at my stepping stone right now," and they'd go, "Cool, thanks for driving for us."
That's what I'm thinking too,
Yeah,
right?
right.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Facts.
He's going there, and I'm sure like the reason why that came up is because conversation came. I was like, Science could come to you for like, hey, let me drive for you for 1 year so I can go and be an Audi after that or something like that.
Get laced up.
Let's go.
It's time for Banter with the boys.
Yo, welcome back to Banter with the Boys Fast Laps. Back at you again here at the British GP recap and then previewing the Hungarian GP. But obviously before that, let's bring everybody in. We'll start across the table this week. Tyler, what's going on?
Not much, man. Another Tuesday. Well, it's Wednesday today. Had a little bit, little things happen yesterday to delay this a day, but it's been a good couple of days, man.
Yeah, for sure. Cole, obviously, I'm going to hit you with how's your week been, and then obviously you're going to proceed to talk about the weather and how busy you've been at work because of it.
Yeah, crazy weather on Sunday morning, I guess you could say, late Saturday night. So it's been a heck of a week, but it's been beautiful the last couple of days. Can't complain now.
Sure, today's been awesome.
Yeah.
Talk about the weather here. Today's pretty much perfect. Joe, right next to me, co-host, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just excited to be here, talk some F1.
For sure. Keeping it simple. Excited to talk some F1. With that, let's head right into
How are you doing, Smeltsy? I feel like
What?
nobody ever asked you how you're doing, dog.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Oh, we're good too. Work's busy. Football's starting up. That's busy. So everything's just going crazy. So nice, smooth summer.
Little NCAA coming out.
Got college football 25, yeah. But all
It'll
of
forever
us,
be
all of us
NCAA 25.
It'll
older
forever
heads
be
now,
NCAA.
as we're becoming old heads now, we'll call it NCAA. But yeah, no, I love the game. But let's head right into the British GP recap. Right away with quali. We had 3 Brits on the podium of quali at their home track. That's pretty wild. Or am I wrong?
Why the?
Well, I don't know. There's not. Do they celebrate the podium of quali? Like,
No,
not really.
Not really. The pole setter gets a tire.
Sweet.
I think that'd be cool.
What color is it? Like a gold tire?
No, it's just like a little
it looks like a
tire
Pirelli.
that they sign it.
It
It is
like
a
a
Pirelli.
version of
That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
funny.
Very small version.
Okay.
And then there's always like
pretty
a.
dope. I would love to buy one off of like you get like one of
Yeah.
Lewis's or something.
That'd be sweet because it's
sweet.
always
That'd be
somebody
sweet.
like
He signs
that
it?
presents
Yeah,
it
that'd be
too.
sweet.
So like the pole setter signs it, and then it's sometimes it's like a member of
Auctioned off or
motorsports, or sometimes it's
Sometimes
a
it's Gordon
like
Ramsay.
celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just for the photo op.
Word. Okay.
And then
gotcha.
I mean I assume the tires go back to the factory.
for sure. They just
They
scrape
always
the
do. It's where all
signatures
the-
right off.
It's
Yeah.
where all
Just shave them right off.
the team's headquarters. Sorry, because
Oh,
that's where all the trophies go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay. I thought you were like, yeah, they sign it, and then they just send it back, scrape it off.
There was a fun.
Do it
this is a-
again
Well,
next
they're this
week.
big.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a fun fact. Lewis actually, I think this was in one of his recent pole positions. He asked where they go because he's never seen them. And the Pirelli was like, you're supposed to be getting them. So I assume they're probably,
Oh,
like
wow.
you're right, they're probably supposed to, they're probably just going to Mercedes. But yeah, he doesn't know. So
That's funny. Obviously with that, Lewis getting the dub. Let's just drop that hammer right off the bat. Isn't that what Lewis says? Drop the hammer? Or does he say it's hammer time?
Hammer
or
down.
something? Hammer down. That's what it is.
He probably
not
says
hammer
both.
time. What an idiot. Obviously, I was born in the 90s. But yeah, obviously, Lewis getting the dub for Mercedes, his first win since I believe like 2021, was it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
It was
he
over.
was in
Was it 1,000 days?
Yeah, something.
It was like
that.
1,003
I don't know
or
how many
something.
days.
It was just over 1,000.
Yeah.
It was a big deal because it was over 1,000 days, and he was the oldest person ever to get a win.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
About time.
Broke a couple records. Yeah,
He
oldest
did.
person, ninth, not consecutive, but ninth win at a single track.
Mhm.
Also
That's
another
insane.
record.
Yeah, he beat their most wins at their track too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of
Wait,
records.
what was that?
He broke the tie for the most wins at the Grand Prix at the
So
British
yeah,
Grand Prix.
Schumacher and him
So-
were
okay.
tied with
Yeah.
8.
For sure. Yep.
And then Lewis got
I didn't
it
know that
right.
was specifically the British Grand Prix that Schumacher had 8 too. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Okay. No, I mean, obviously, I don't think that'll be his last win. I think we'll see some next year. I have a good gut feeling, but
Maybe
I
this
think
year.
we'll see some
Yeah.
more
Well,
this
well, I think
year,
we'll
dude.
still see another one this year. But I will have to say his partner in crime, George, was running a pretty solid race before his. I can't remember what I put down
Well,
here.
didn't Lewis pass him?
He
Before
did. He did, but George was still had a pretty good
Yeah,
weekend.
he
And I
would've got a
think
podium.
he's still showing us that why Mercedes is confident with him being their number one driver going into next season.
But I mean, like on top of that, when he passed him, it was kind of just showing experience of that rate in the rain. That's when he passed him in the
Yeah.
rain.
Oh
So
my
it
god!
was just kind of experience of that rate with the
And Lewis had Silverstone. I
He
mean,
had-
come on.
Yeah.
medium tires.
Right.
Medium tires. None of them were on slicks, and that's when Lewis was making crazy passes and catching up to everybody.
Yeah, he was driving a lot more aggressively.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of the rain, I can't imagine how much of a strategy nightmare that's got to be, especially like the on and off rain, like it was doing for the first 30 laps or so. It was like, oh, rain's coming in 5 minutes. It's gonna last 10 minutes, then it's gonna stop. And then we got rain in like 30 minutes. Like what? Like what are you supposed to do? Like strategy wise, Joe?
I mean,
what can you even plan for in that
It
moment?
was by far one of the craziest kind of like strategy monopoly games that I've ever seen. I was counting like the seconds that like Leclerc was losing because he went on not slicks. He went on inters too early.
Mhm.
I want to say
Yeah.
he lost minutes.
Mhm.
Like
It
soon,
ruined his race.
very soon, whoever was in first at the time was lapping him. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was crazy just how quickly the track could change for what is the best tire, and then how quickly like that would change positions just for everyone in the field.
Well, even on like the whole strategy, I think that's the only reason that Max like even gets a podium.
Yep.
Red Bull by far they don't have the fastest car anymore. They may have arguably one of the better drivers on the grid. Arguably the best driver on the grid, arguably. But like I think it's purely just strategy at this rate. The only reason they're still getting big points and podiums because, I mean, Lando, Lewis, even Piastri, they all had a faster car out there. But
Yeah, they
I
all
mean,
went on mediums. But it's like, so
Yeah.
you could almost say
no,
that
they're on softs.
or
Lewis and Lando ended on softs.
oh, they did end on sauce. But you
Yeah.
could argue that like Checo was a sacrificial lamb in this because he went on hards real early in the race. They got all that tire data. And
That's
then they
true.
put Verstappen on hards,
Yeah,
and he
you
was
think-
just doing work. Like he caught Lando like
Yeah.
nothing, and then I mean, you give him 5-7 more laps, he's probably catching Lewis.
But even just like when they decided to pit, all the other teams are messing up on at least one of the driver. Like Piastri just got handed the horrible
Oh,
card on
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
no, that was
Lando
horrible.
did too. I mean, like
Yeah. And Russell did too.
McLaren's strategy, like McLaren is looking like Ferrari of the last 2 years with their strategy right now.
I would definitely agree that this strategy aside, Lando wins this race. I think that's the fastest
For
car
sure.
in Silverstone.
For sure.
And I think strategy definitely rooted
Lost in
for
the
them.
race.
You had Piastri instead of double stacking, which would have
Oh my
obviously
God.
lost time.
Yeah.
He went another lap,
Why-
and then Lando passes him in the pit entry, which sucks. And then, for some reason, they decide to go on the softs instead of the mediums when we know the mediums are so good on that McLaren. I don't know where the thinking was. I mean, Lando said it himself. It was just really bad strategy calls.
Yeah, he did straight up come out and say that.
And he said he wouldn't be able to catch him anyway, even if he got in front of Lewis there.
Yeah.
He was like, I wouldn't have been able to keep it. He would have passed me pretty soon.
What?
Yeah.
So, what were you saying?
I think it's also, I mean, obviously it's tough to decide in the moment. I think they probably gave Lando that decision a little bit. They laid it out. If we go softs, we probably fight for pole or fight for first position. But if we go mediums, we're defending Max more. And unfortunately, it was just, bad info.
But why do you not double stack there? What do you think their reasoning was to not do
Probably
it?
just
Like
thought they
what
would lose
was
more
going through
time.
their mind at the time? Like obviously I think it was still on and off raining at the time. Like we didn't know quite when it was going to be
There was a
fully
dry line.
Yeah,
Is that when they
It
when
was
they
slicks.
didn't double stack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Mercedes did double stack that time.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But why would you not?
They're
I just
wearing the
don't-
Ferrari
I
hats.
just don't get it.
That's, I mean, their strategy is just, it's been absolutely terrible. It cost Lando the race last week. Or
It did.
the race
the
prior to this.
race. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've made one good strategy decision, and that was Lando in Miami.
The funny thing, you brought it up already, so I want to touch on it. You said that Lando obviously has the fastest car.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that came out from 3 years ago because Lando has had the fastest car the last couple races.
Yeah, for the
Right.
last like 3 weeks.
And there was something that came out 3 years ago, and they were praising Lewis for winning races. And they go, yeah, of course he's going to win the race. He's got the fastest car. And now it's coming back to bite him because he said that a couple of years ago when Lewis was winning all the races with the fastest car. And now he's got the fastest car and he ain't winning. So there's a guy that was posting all that next to him losing with the fastest
That's
car.
hilarious.
That's
rough.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey, he brought it on himself.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
He was young,
Mercedes
yeah.
right now,
Right.
they
He still
don't
is
have
young.
the fastest car,
No.
right? But they're damn close at this point.
They got really good drivers.
Yeah.
I was
They
gonna
do some of the
say-
fastest
strategy.
I was going to
drivers.
say they're driving the heck out of the cars. Like
Yeah.
Lewis to win that race, looking at his tires at the end of the race, oh my God. It was so, marbled up on the tires. Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine cornering on those things. It would have felt like you're on ice skates, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's just,
And you put it in here. Leave me to it, mate. When he was coming into lap 41,
Mm-hmm.
it reminded, you already brought it up, but Hammer Time.
Yeah,
That was,
literally.
I got chills when I heard him say that.
Yeah, leave me
Yeah.
to it, mate.
I
When he
was
said
like,
leave me
ooh.
to it, mate, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
like
It's
Lewis,
on.
this
It's on.
race is won.
Yeah,
it's on.
He ain't catching them. No
No,
matter.
not at Silverstone.
No,
But in all honesty, how good that Mercedes car just looks right now. George got screwed this race. I mean,
Was it
we're
technical?
saying that is no.
it was allegedly a water system issue.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
It was
a water
losing water
system.
pressure, so they just retired it before
It's-
possible overheating.
It's so crazy to see a car doing so well through the whole race, and then just like that,
Just like
they have
that.
to retire.
I hate that.
Just like that.
That's something
It's
I
a
do.
Ferrari.
So rough.
That's
The
something
car-
I do hate about specifically
last season.
F1. It just seems like it happens. It's happening less. I feel like this year than years prior. But exactly that. All of a sudden, cars running great, and then
he wasn't even
just
losing
like that.
time.
No,
It was
no.
he
They
was just
literally
in the
just
pits
called
and,
him, like, box,
and retire
box.
the car.
We
And
gotta
it's
retire,
this
yeah.
dude's in contention to win this race. What are we doing here?
It's funny you say it doesn't happen because Gasly did the exact same thing at the start of the race.
I know.
He went into formation
Yeah.
into the pits and just retired there too. So maybe Silverstone's just a little cursed for a few people.
Didn't he have an issue going into it though? Because he had he had the penalty that he started whatever in the pits, and then that was almost
so-
always a plan or something that if they had any issues, they were just going to retire. it.
Perez started in the pits. I don't know if
I don't think Gasly did
though.
I
this
thought
race.
Gasly got demoted to 20th
Let me check really
automatically or
quick.
whatever it was.
Just a moment.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he's qualified 20th. He was 20th on the grid to start.
Gasly did have something wrong in quality because his fastest time was 1:39 to the next 1:34.
I wonder if it was the same issue because
It
they
might have
retired the
been.
car for a gearbox issue.
Okay.
Is what they came out and said, or what?
So they switched gearboxes. That's why he got the penalty
before
to
the
start at the
race?
back. So they were just gonna, that's what it
still
was.
had an issue.
Yeah, and they still had some issue. Yeah. I just want to touch really quick on Hamilton winning and just the overall vibe of the race really quick. I think I was pretty disappointed just because I'm a McLaren fanboy and I saw the strategy kind of move both of the drivers out, right? Yeah, I mean,
McLaren
it is what it is.
fanboy.
Just let me finish,
Yeah, go for it.
But seeing Lewis cross that finish line and seeing the emotion he brought to that podium, oh man, it made it all worth it.
Toto was
It was
excited
awesome.
for him.
So nice.
I don't know
was
why I had
awesome.
to say Toto like that. It's Toto. Like
Toto.
him and his engineer, that was awesome
Bono.
too.
I know.
Yeah.
Bono.
No,
Oh
they
my
were all
gosh.
excited for him.
Yeah.
You could hear in Lewis's voice that dude could barely talk at the end of the
Yeah.
race. Like he was
Yeah.
definitely choked up inside that helmet. He did not take that
Oh my
off for a
gosh.
hot minute.
Yeah, to win your
So-
home Grand Prix with the team that you've won 8 or 7, 6, whatever it is, 7, 8, yeah.
Should
8
be.
WDCs with at your home race for the last year with them. It's got to feel so good.
If that's the last race Lewis ever wins, what a race!
That
to
would
win.
be
Yeah.
that would be a
Yeah.
storybook ending
Yeah.
for that. Like that
Absolutely.
would cap his career pretty well. Obviously,
Hopefully
we
not.
know we got a
Hopefully
lot
not.
more.
Hopefully not.
I think he's
Hopefully
gonna. I think with the way that car is right now and the way they look, I think Mercedes is going to be fighting for wins here going forward.
Does it?
They would have won two. They probably would have won two that race. Him and Russell.
Yeah.
I think they would have won two that
Yeah.
race.
I don't. With
I
the
don't
way
know,
Max
those
was on a
McLarens
tear
were
that
right
after that
there.
last
Yeah.
pit though, and even Max when he
But
put
those-
in those hards,
Max
dude.
was
even on the
charging on
start,
Lewis.
even on the start on dry tires when they were using each other, they were both looking quick.
Oh yeah,
They were both looking good. They were pulling away and they were able to use each other. I mean, I think they.
That's what I'm saying.
Too.
I'm just really impressed with George Russell's development. Like a couple years ago, like I definitely didn't put him on the same pedestal as like Stroll, but like he just wasn't consistent at all a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm talking like 3-4 years ago. Like it's been a minute, right?
Yeah.
But you see his development has increased and increased, and now I think we're starting to get the best of Russell finally.
he's a
And I
damn good
agree with you
driver.
100%. He would have been probably 2, if not 1.
But like, I mean, we touched on Max a little bit too, but the biggest surprise for me with Max was he was P5 to start.
4.
P4.
Mm-hmm.
That was surprising.
Yep.
He wasn't even in the fight.
What were the 3 in front of him again? I mean,
It
both
was
Mercedes.
All the Brits.
George,
that's right,
George
Lando.
Lewis,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Lando,
yeah,
and Lando was 2/10 faster.
That's
And
conspiracy.
George was 4/10 faster.
Yeah, it's crazy.
George had a burner in quality.
Yeah, he beat Lewis by what 0.210.
He beat Lewis by a little over a tenth.
Oh,
almost 2/10.
0.2. Yeah.
He
It's
was
crazy.
he was.
No, it was just over a
fast.
tenth.
Was it just
1.1?
over? Huh?
It was.
I'm looking at 0.8.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy though.
Yeah,
super crazy.
George was on a burner.
Yeah.
I think if Russell doesn't retire, man, the race changes so much if he doesn't retire. But like Lando on mediums, I think he probably could have caught Lewis at the end there. I don't know if I would have wanted that to happen. It's now seeing Lewis win, but
I don't know. It's just Lewis experienced at Silverstone. If they're on the same tire, because
I think
but they
no,
wouldn't have been
they-
because
yeah, 'cause he
Mercedes
would've-
never puts him on the same tire. He would have
Yeah.
been on a medium. That's true.
I think he would have gone onto medium as well. If Lando instead went on mediums instead of the softs, because I think that's what made him fall back behind even Max.
What did Lewis end on again?
Lewis ended on
Softs,
softs,
yeah.
and
And Lando.
he got past Lando at the pit exit. So Lando would have been right behind him. He was right behind him either way, but he couldn't catch him. He was like
That's
2
right.
seconds or so, and then like off the pace.
That's right. And then, I mean, Lewis was catching him regardless. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh
With-
yeah, I mean Lewis. Yeah, Lewis passed him at the pit exit. So he
yeah,
was
but I think
ahead.
even if Lando was ahead of him, I think Lewis is still catching him.
Yeah.
You think so?
I think so,
Lando
because-
even said that.
Just in general, if he had the mediums on.
No, because they were on the
no.
same tire.
Yeah.
What I'm saying,
Yeah,
so if
yeah.
Lando would have been in front of Lewis coming out of the pit
I
section,
agree.
I think Lewis still
I agree.
catches him.
The
Oh,
softs,
yeah,
the softs
yeah.
are not the tire for that situation.
Not at
I
all.
think I'm just pitching if Lando, same exact situation, Lando just goes on mediums. I think they're fighting, and I
Oh,
think
for
I think
sure.
Lando could have taken.
Yeah.
it.
I would agree with that.
It would have been another one of those ones where like the Max Lando fights. I think though it wouldn't have been probably till the last couple laps we've seen them fight.
Probably.
And
It would've
Max
got
is just-
really interesting
Max
if
is just
Lando
out of it
was
in
on.
third there because he can't gain and get DRS on him.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was so angry when Max got ahead.
So was I, dude.
That was
Yeah,
so
Just
right.
like,
same. I was hoping he was gonna be fourth.
Yeah.
I saw Russell go out. I was like, no. And then I saw the Piastri fiasco, and I was like, no shot. We're giving this guy a podium. Then he got second, and I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah,
It
my
was
mood
all
was
strategy.
like I said, my
Max
mood was
too,
just
though. I
tanking.
mean,
it was just tanking.
It is mostly strategy, but
Well, I mean, obviously Max is a hell of a driver.
just God, he's
But
like,
it took
you
me
never
from
can
here-
count him out right now. You still can't count him out.
You know,
Again, starting P4, like I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa. Even just at the start of the race, I was like, I knew Max would battle, but I was like, I don't
mean,
think we see Max.
I can't
on the
believe he got
podium.
around. I mean, you're talking about the start and the battle. I can't believe you got around Lando that easy. It seemed easy to get around Lando off the start of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Lando does not start races very well.
No.
Yeah, he does have
He's
an
not
issue
as-
with starts, I think.
Something I did put a note down for like Piastri in comparison to Lando. It's just like Piastri doesn't back out of an opportunity. He
Mm-mm.
really hangs in there until the absolute last minute. Not as long as Ocon, because then Ocon fails, but like he hangs in there till the last minute. Dude.
He'll go off
Like,
the
that's
track.
something I really
Yeah.
noticed this race. It's like, dude, he really wants that extra position, no matter what it is. Like he's gonna hang in there.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, ultimately Max, like going on those hards, like I said, it was going back to like Checo. He was out of the race. He wasn't really going to do anything starting P19, right? So him going on the hards and them getting that data, no other car went on hards, right? When like Red Bull made that switch. So they had that data and they're just like, so I
Yeah.
mean, Checo's a great teammate, but you cannot finish P17 when you get your teammate finishing P2. I don't
He's-
care if
Two
he's
he's.
only
laps
got a-
behind as well.
Yep.
He's only got a couple more races left for the points thing in his
When was
contract.
that cutoff? What race? The break, yeah. And I think the break is actually after
The
I
next
think
two
it's
races,
after
right?
after the two races, yeah. No.
Oh,
It's
is it
Hungary and then
after
Belgium.
Belgium?
And then the
And
break.
then, and then it's a
Belgium's the
break,
break.
yeah.
So,
So,
so excited for
real
Spa.
quick on that, I wrote this down because I saw this. If you take Hulkenberg's last two races, he still outscored Sergio in Sergio's last 6 races.
Yep.
You take Sergio's last 6 and Hulkenberg's last 2. Hulkenberg outscored him.
That's crazy.
That's unacceptable.
Unreal.
As a Red Bull number 2 driver, that's unacceptable.
Here, let's add to that real quick. Out of the 12 races that have happened, 7 out of the 12, Sargent has qualified him.
Out-qualified?
Perez.
And this race, he finished in front of him.
7 of 12?
7 of 12, he's out-qualified him. Logan Sargent.
My God.
That's wild.
Mr. Sargent almost got him a point this week, but...
Unreal race out of him.
Yeah. No, for real.
He honestly did race really good this time.
Obviously, we did not expect that at all.
He signed that deal with the other place, and he's like, I'm sending it now.
Yeah.
Where's he going?
Who? Sarge?
Sargent, yeah, he signed a deal with or the IndyCar or something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
He
right.
did?
Yeah,
He's
I
going
think
to
he's
IndyCar?
right. I think
Yeah.
he's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Before this, so he signed that deal. He's like, I'm sending it now the rest of the season.
I didn't know that. Well, yeah, I mean, Williams has made it clear he ain't coming back.
Yeah. You just mentioned Hulkenberg. Let's talk about him real quick. Obviously, starting in 6th and then finishing 6th. What a heck of a race. Obviously, honestly, from Haas as a whole, because K-Meg early on with the strategy in the wet, I believe, if I'm remembering right, didn't he get...
Nobody went on wets.
Nobody was on wets.
Was he?
Inters?
No, I'm
Inters?
sorry, Inters. Didn't K-Meg get Inters pretty early?
No.
Did he not? Maybe
No,
I'm
I think
thinking
he
of-
was one of them that was losing time. He did it around the same time as Leclerc.
Really?
Yeah, because there was 3. I'm pretty sure there
It
was 3
I can't
drivers that went on
remember.
It was
inners.
Perez, Leclerc, Ocon, and Joe that had
Ah,
that
okay.
had
K-Meg. I'm
Okay.
thinking
I
of
made
something
sure
else then.
to write
but-
it down because it was just crazy how
Oh,
much
just
time
crazy.
they lost.
It's just crazy
It was
strategy.
wild.
But I mean,
He
Haas
catch
as
him
a
back up
whole,
to 12th with going on inters early.
obviously K-Meg didn't make points, but I mean, it's not a bad look for Haas. Obviously committing to what Hulkenberg's doing, but
You know who's just licking their lips right now? Audi.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's looked so good recently.
Bro,
So
you
good.
put him in one of those top 3-4 cars.
in Sergio's
I think
car,
he's fighting. You put him in that other Red Bull with how aggressive of a driver he is in that car underneath him. Now, granted, you could make an argument they're the third or fourth fastest car on the grid, but it's
Yeah.
still better than
but he's
Haas.
probably still finishing at least P5 or higher.
He's a podium dog.
Yeah.
With the way he's driving right now, man. He's driving that car out of his mind.
Yeah, but do you think right now he's just very comfortable in that car?
Absolutely.
'Cause I think that's also like, it's a double-edged sword, that comment. I agree. He's racing out of his mind. You throw him in like a Red Bull, though, he might be too much car for the boy.
Well, it's gonna take
Not
a
his first
second.
year.
It's gonna
Yeah.
take a
I mean,
second.
I'm gonna say, are we talking about Hulkenberg?
Yeah, I mean, we
right
are.
now?
I mean,
no,
we
it's
are.
obviously
in our
not gonna
minds.
happen.
It's crazy because I think Sergio has pushed us to this dark place.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Checo's fault.
It's crazy
It's
that we're
Checo's
talking
fault.
about this.
Sergeant in
That's so
a
interesting.
Red Bull.
Oh my gosh.
Stop.
Oh man.
Come on now. Come on now.
Oh man.
so much damage.
Obviously, so much damage. Obviously, we've already kind of touched on Ferrari, but just obviously, we won't even really need to touch on them any further. Just bad strategy, kind of like.
Where they should be,
It's
right?
unforgettable, or forgettable rather. Sorry, I didn't.
But it's
even, like-
becoming commonplace
It's
for
kind
their races to become forgettable.
Where they should be, though, right? 5th. I think that's a safe spot for Carlos.
For Carlos, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that's
for
where he should,
Carlos.
that's where he should
Yeah,
finish,
right,
right?
now,
He
yeah,
should-
right
he
now
should.
probably.
But for Leclerc to not even make Q3,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a problem. And obviously, like you said, they're bringing kind of an upgrade to this week, but it's not.
yeah,
It's going back.
It's so like they went to this new wing in the Spanish Grand Prix, and it's created a lot of their it's fixed some of their downforce issues. However, it's created porpoising in the high end speed, so they're reverting back to the old wing with slight modifications going forward. Now they'll hopefully fix that porpoising issue so they can actually have a top end car again.
For
Because
sure.
since the Spanish Grand Prix, they have just woo.
Yeah. Bouncy ride. Ride.
And it's crazy to think that like the team has 2 wins this year.
Yeah.
Right. It feels like so long ago already.
It does.
that
Even Monaco
that it's
feels
even-
ancient.
And right now, like, if you ask me if they can even win a race, absolutely not.
No, no.
Not with the performance of McLaren right now, and
Mercedes.
obviously still Red Bull and Mercedes climbing into there.
Mercedes is highly outperforming Red Bull.
Like in
Their drivers
As a whole,
are racing
well,
too, yeah.
yeah, again
I mean-
because of Checo, but
Not even that, brother. I mean, George and Lewis have been
the past couple
2-3
races
the
for
last
sure.
3-4
Didn't they both-
races.
did they
George and
both-
Lewis both winning a race.
who won last race?
George. Canadian.
That's what I thought.
No,
Yeah,
the Canadian
not-
Grand Prix wasn't the race
The
before,
race right
was
before.
No, it was
Austria.
yeah.
Oh, you mean before Spain?
it? Max won Austria.
Yeah. Okay.
No, and then it was the Canadian
Red-
Grand Prix.
No, the Red Bull ring is where George won because
Yeah.
Lando and Max
Oh,
wrecked.
he was. That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Who won Canada then?
Canada was
Max.
Canada was Max
Yeah,
because
and then because he came
George.
into Canada
Yeah,
saying,
that's
"I'm
right.
not going
George
to race
messed up
very
at the
well."
end. Yeah.
Because Lando messed up. That was like the switch, right? Where it was kind of like the opposite of Miami for Lando.
So I mean, I guess
With the
as of
Yeah.
currently,
Yeah.
like today, they are outperforming Red Bull.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
if
they're almost. Tyler was just looking this
Oh,
up.
Spain. That's right. That's where.
You were just looking this up. They almost caught. They're almost caught up to Red Bull.
Yeah. So looking at the constructor standings, like right now. No, I was bringing they almost caught up to Ferrari.
Oh,
So Red Bull still in the substantial lead at 373, then Ferrari's at 302, and then McLaren is at 295. So they're 7
Whoa.
points behind Ferrari, right?
Ferrari,
how
yeah.
much? How much farther is Mercedes now?
And then Mercedes is at 221. So
Yeah.
they're,
making
74
jumps.
They're
points. So,
climbing.
I mean, realistically, in like say the next 4 or 5 races, if it continues as it is right now, Mercedes is bumping Ferrari, and it's a Red Bull Mercedes McLaren fight. But if we have to have Max start dropping down for them to continue that jump.
You just.
I mean,
let
hey,
Checo
it
just do what he's
just-
doing, right?
It's starting to happen. I mean, he qualied 4th. I mean, we're starting
but
to see
quali-
him start. I know.
We got to see where
And he
they
still
finish.
finished 2,
He still
right?
won
But-
2 of the last 4 races.
Right, and you can't take that away from the guy. But I mean, with the
But
performance
Mercedes
of
has also won
Mercedes,
2 of the last 4 races.
Well, and you can't forget about the
And
performance of McLaren's car right
Lando's
now. If
been
they
on
can,
the
if they can
podium
keep
every
him on the
race.
track,
Damn near.
Yeah, right.
if
Pretty
McLaren can
close.
figure out a strategy, I think they're 100% battling at least Red Bull for at the
I
end of the
looked,
season.
2020, the last season, and at this same point in the year, Red Bull was like 300 points up on the constructors.
Over second,
Over
second
second.
place. Yeah, it just wasn't even a contest.
It wasn't even a contest anymore,
Yeah.
and now it's. I mean,
And Mercedes finished second last year, right?
Mercedes
Yes.
finished
Constructors,
second, yes,
yeah.
and Ferrari did third. No,
Yes.
Yes.
Ferrari the McLaren.
Moving right along, still with our British GP recap. We should probably move along here soon, but I mean, Aston kind of right where we sort of expect them, except Stroll finishing in front of Alonso. I gotta actually give it to Stroll for once. I mean, all day through the rain. I mean, he kept the thing on the track, which is impressive enough for him. But I mean, finishing P7 and then obviously Alonso P8. I can't imagine Aston's too upset about that right now with the way the season's going.
they need those points too.
They have to be ecstatic.
Yeah,
For
they
sure.
needed those points.
For sure.
2
Both
points by
cars
them
and
too.
points. Yeah.
But to think that a Haas was
I
in
was
front of
just about to say that.
That's the part that's got to rip
Yeah.
their heart out.
him. You put Nico in it. I'm just kidding.
Obviously, right behind them, you had Albon in the Williams. We talked about Williams slightly with Sargent.
Good to see him back up there.
Not getting points, and we didn't even talk about Albon getting in the points.
Good to see him back up there.
That car's looked very impressive the last, handful of
it
races.
has.
They've definitely kind of
It
turned the
has.
corner. They're on top of, well, no, I would say Haas is on top of the midfield, but they're fighting
Where
for
are
that
they in the
top spot.
points? Like, who's right behind them since you had it up? I'm just curious. Like,
so
who are they
it's-
fighting with,
it's-
kind of?
So RB, the Racing Bulls still have the lead for 6, but then it's Haas, Alpine, Williams. So it's Haas at 27, then Alpine 9, Williams 4. There's still a steep decline
Yeah,
there.
for
Racing
sure.
Bull.
But
no,
with
sure.
the way that racing the Haas's looked right now, I mean, the Racing Bulls are only 4 points ahead of Haas. Haas could easily close that gap.
That's kind of crazy, especially with the way the Racing Bulls have been. I mean, obviously, we
Their
saw
best
Tsunoda
year.
get back a point, right?
Yep.
But they've been kind of off.
You imagine their best year. They finished 6th this year. That'd be awesome. Haas takes
Haas?
6th in the
That would be
constructors. That'd be
crazy.
That
awesome.
would be wild.
Yeah, it
It'd
would
be
be-
such a good F1 Drive to Survive next year.
Yeah,
if
it
they
would.
take 6th,
Yeah, it would.
and then Red Bull loses.
Imagine
I'm
financially
Tebow
what
in
that
that.
does for Haas if they can pull off 6.
About
dude.
10 to
That's
13 million
crazy.
bucks. We looked that up last time.
Yeah,
Is that what the difference was?
Yeah,
Each-
it's like
each
not as
place?
much as you would think.
Yeah, but
Hey,
still,
they might get
never
Hulk in
know.
a couple of years.
Yeah. Bring him back.
But I mean, it's to think that Aston is still 37 points ahead of the Racing Bulls. Like that seems crazy to me with how like little Aston's been performing as of late.
Compared, and then Racing Bulls had a couple races there that they both were finishing all right. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I would have thought that would have been a little bit
Yeah.
closer.
But Alonso had a lot of 4ths, didn't he?
Yeah, here I can actually have that. So Alonso, no, he hasn't had his best finish this year is a 5th.
Wow, and they're
That's
that
crazy.
much above.
Yeah.
best driver on the grid.
He has 45 of the points though.
Yeah, so Alonso has 45 of the, what did I say? Alonso has 45 of the 68 points.
So Stroll's
45 of the 60.
Stroll's still putting it in the money there.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
Stroll
bringing
still
something.
has more points than Yuki. He still has 3 more points than Yuki, so.
Dang, and we were putting Yuki on a pedestal.
Stroll has more points than Hulk.
I mean,
He has one more point than Hulk.
hold on, for that car, Yuki is on a pedestal right now.
Yeah, that's
That
fair.
guy cannot
That's
stay out
fair.
of the points.
And I mean, speaking of Racing Bulls real quick, and then I guess there's not really anything to really talk about the Alpines. But I did find an interesting quote from Danny Rick in an article. I thought it was Sports Illustrated, but I can't remember. But he just said the stopwatch doesn't lie. Like, no, it says Formula1.com, but it's like, it was like, I think it was Formula One Briefings, which is part of Sports Illustrated, whatever. But anyway, he was just saying how like the stopwatch doesn't lie. Like, obviously he knows his time's running out. He's just not performing.
We'll see if he keeps outperforming Sergio, he might be in a Red Bull by the end of the
That'd
year.
be a bunch of crap.
I think
dude.
we see
You
somebody
think
else
that's
in
gonna
that.
happen.
I think we see somebody else in that seat by the end of the year now. The
I
more
mean,
and more
I mean, at
rumors.
this point,
Hey, the rumors are coming out, and I'm believing the rumors right now.
what rumor are you hearing?
The rumor
Just
is that he had
somebody
a
else is
6.
gonna be in the seat.
The other part of his contract is he has a 6-race span where he has to be within a certain point gap.
It's within
of
100 points of Verstappen,
and he has to do a certain thing
and
else.
he has to be in P5 in the constructors.
Yes. And he's already jumped out of P5 in the constructors.
So
P5 in the
right now he is P6 in the constructors.
He's
He is
also-
6 points behind Oscar.
He's also too
Drivers,
far.
sorry,
And,
WDC.
and he's also too far away from Max in the points right now. So he needs a good 2 races.
Whoa.
He is like,
What is their plan then? Do you
He's
think it is Danny
100
Rick?
So it's either Yuki or Danny Rick that they're going to put in that seat.
he's 122 points behind Max, so he
Yeah.
needs to close that gap.
He
and
needs
then
2 big races to maybe or he might not have a seat when he comes back. He might be in a racing bull.
might be in a racing bull.
You say comes back next
from
year?
the
No,
or
from
from
this
the
year.
summer
No,
break.
from
Summer
summer
break.
Summer break. That's
But
so
who knows
interesting.
how accurate those are? Like Red Bull hasn't come out and said
Yeah.
that's the clause in there.
They might have to make a decision though.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Danny Rick and Yuki are outperforming him, there's no option but to put them in the seat in the better car.
Yeah.
And
if
Danny
you want the
has the
constructors-
experience.
If you want the constructors, you might have to.
That's what I think. I think, unfortunately, I think I'd lean Danny over Yuki just
You have to
for
put
the
Danny.
experience.
You have to put
It would
Danny
have
in.
to be Danny. 100%.
So-
I think so.
Do they
100%.
lose? They lose Checo's points, or has he gained those points for Red Bull when he was racing for them?
No, so if you change sheets, the points don't differentiate.
They don't
at all.
drift
Nope.
into the next team. Okay,
Correct.
Okay,
So
that's
he still
good.
keeps all of his points he
that's
had
like
for Red
that's
Bull.
like even more like why not?
Yeah.
I have recently. I will say like in the last 2 weeks, I've been seeing a lot of clickbait titles about Checo specifically. So I don't know. I haven't seen them all year for signs though, and
But it started
nothing's
after
happened,
his
but-
contract, though.
Yeah,
They
that's
started
true.
doing this right after
That's
his
true.
contract. They started talking about all these stipulations in it after he started doing bad.
And when
true.
Horner has come out and said there is clauses in his contract, but they're too.
But he
nobody
didn't
knows
say
what
if
they
they were
are.
performance
No, they won't.
clauses.
They won't
Yeah,
come out and
yeah,
say what
yeah,
they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
It's gonna
It
be
wouldn't make
one
sense to
minus
do
one
that.
No,
contract.
It would also be already with the heat he has. If he throws Checo under the bus,
Oh, for
and you
sure.
just sign him for 2 years. That's best you can say is he's got clauses that
Yeah.
protects you a little bit. And
But
not
that
too
also
much that
doesn't
makes you look like a
surprise me
dirtbag.
that they structured his contract that way.
Yeah.
Like
He's
it
not-
only makes sense.
There's just no logical sense you give him a 2-year extension.
Well, that's why we were so
Or 1+1.
flabbergasted that he signed the multi-year, right? Or
1+1,
multi-year, right?
Yeah.
I highly doubt it's a 2-year contract. It's a 1-year contract with probably that option or whatever
Like
it
a
is if we're
team
talking in
option,
other
kinda.
sports terms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no way he's in that Red Bull seat 2026.
Yeah, I
No.
agree. There's
There's
no,
no
way.
way.
He might not be in it all this year.
Man, if he's out by the break, it's going to be a very
So what
interesting
do they-
Mexican Grand Prix.
If he
What do
doesn't,
they do
they don't.
next
They don't
year?
take. If he doesn't, they don't.
He's
take
obviously
first.
not going to be in the Red Bull.
You don't think he's going to for sure?
So
not
do they
gonna-
put him in a racing bull? But it's because they've come out and said it's
I think
supposed to
because
be.
he has a contract with Red Bull, I think he's probably going on a racing bull.
But they could. I'm sure that contract. All you got to do is pay the guy whatever it was, and you can put somebody else in the seat with a new another contract.
They're running out of contract money.
If he gets
Well,
if he gets at least a little bit of his stuff together by the end of the year and finishes this season in a Red Bull seat, I think he still starts next season in a Red Bull.
Oh,
but he has a
100%.
short leash. But it's short though.
if he finished the
I
year,
mean, we're talking like maybe that 6 race window or like a 5 race window. Like, buddy, you got 3 points in 6 races, you're done. You know, or whatever.
I'll say if he stays in the seat the rest of the year, Red Bull doesn't win the constructors this year. That's what I think.
I
would agree with that.
100% agree.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
And I mean,
they might
that's-
not even hold on to second.
Yeah, no,
Second would be
100%.
Hulk,
100%.
you know?
I think it's a battle between McLaren and Mercedes, the top two right now.
Because the next
Checo
three are so
staying in
close
With
together.
Checo staying in, it's a battle between those two at the top two.
I think even if you put Danny Rick in that seat, they're still. I mean, he might consistently grab those 7 through 8s, but I don't know if he's fighting for podiums.
At least he's getting points, though. You know,
I don't think he
Right,
would.
right.
But
At
I
least
think,
he's getting
he'd be
points.
consistently 5 through 8.
he'll get you, but you know what that
Danny
does?
Rick. I think he
That
battles
gives
for
you-
5th.
That gives you 30 to 50 points, and that's all you need.
That's true.
That's all you need.
That's true.
You know, you can throw a lot of people.
that's
I think you can throw a lot of
interesting.
people on here.
We got
in the grid right now. In that
we got to
spot.
keep that receipt right there. If Checo stays in the Red Bull seat, then Red Bull does not win the constructors.
So I can't remember. Have we talked about if because I have some. It's not insider knowledge, but I have some thoughts on it. Have we talked about if Red Bull really super cares about constructors? Even
Oh, they have to.
they have to.
Oh yeah.
Well,
think they
because
do.
I think the difference in that 10 to 13 mil. I don't think that's for those 4 to 10th place teams. I would think they really care about that. I mean, the difference in 10 mil to a Mercedes, a McLaren, a Red Bull, a Ferrari. I don't think
Signing
that's
bonus.
the thing. But it's right. But it's you get that you're number 1 in the constructors. That has to bring more with it than that 6th or 7th, right?
Yeah.
The counterpoint to that is if that was the case, they wouldn't have torn through Albon and Gasly that year because they would have just took a young driver and helped him grow.
I think it's just changed though. I think they've gotten their constructors, and I think they're focusing solely now because I'm just trying to reason with the 2-year contract for Perez instead of kicking him and getting
Don't.
somewhere else, right?
No,
I think
reason with
but
that
they
thing,
have to
man.
they have to think that driver's champion is way more important than constructors this year. They just have to. Because
I don't think
they're
so.
not. I think they know they're not going to get it with Checo.
But but that doesn't change this year, right? Because the contract is for next year and the year after.
Yeah.
So this year, you're not going to sign Albon and get him in the car this year. It doesn't work like that. He would have to fulfill
Right,
that
but I'm just
contract.
saying, foreseeing in the future, because we only know what we know. It's a 1+1 contract. He should technically be racing next year, right? So why would they keep him if they know that they can't win constructors?
So
But they have Max.
here's maybe why. Because his previous contract guaranteed him to the end of this year. Them getting him to sign a 1+1 may have been able to put a stipulation for him not finishing out this season and going to a racing bowl.
Sure.
That's probably the only way they're able to get a stipulation put in this year.
Say that again. So you're saying if
So because
that's
his
interesting.
previous contract probably ran to the end of this year with those stipulations.
Yeah.
But if they get him to sign for a 1+1,
Yep.
they can get a stipulation in this year. If he's like, okay, you want to race with us for a couple more years? Perfect. We'll give you a contract. This is a stipulation. You have to be this and this year, and then we'll keep you next year. And if you do this good this year, we'll keep you again.
But you're saying if they have to pull him out of a car and demote him to Racing Bull, you're saying
There's probably another stipulation where he doesn't get paid the same.
I'm sure those
I
clauses
would
are.
imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine. But you're
Has
saying if he
to.
doesn't finish out the season with Red Bull, then there could be a stipulation saying well, now you don't obviously get a seat next year. Do you think he would still be in Racing Bull?
I think he'd still get a Racing Bull
Okay,
seat.
okay.
I think he's buying himself a seat. But he's banking on his own skill to stay the rest of this year and next year with the Red Bull.
With Red Bull, sure.
So
sure.
Red Bull doesn't sign contracts for you to drive
suck?
drive for a team. You're
Yeah.
under you're
Right,
signing
you're under
a
the
contract for
umbrella.
Red Bull.
Yeah, you're under the umbrella.
Right. So
I get that.
what
I get
seat
that.
you're in is essentially how Marco and Horner decide what seat
For
you're
sure.
in.
And if you
And
want
it has to be performance more than anything else,
sure.
you would imagine.
and even like you said a couple weeks ago, they probably extend him because of his nationality and all his fans and stuff like that.
Oh, it's the
and his
sponsors.
sponsorships.
Yep.
So if they give him a 1+1 and he's not in a Red Bull, at least he's still in the Red Bull team and they can still capture
Market
that.
him.
It's like Danny Rick being the reserve driver last
unfortunately,
year, right?
If you look at it that way, yeah.
You signed Danny
For
Rick
sure.
as your reserve driver to fill the seat if it needs to be filled, but you
But
signed
all the
him
promotional events that Danny
Exactly.
Rick started going to, and of course they're going to be huge because it's still Danny Rick.
They even touched on it on Drive to Survive.
Did they?
Yeah, it was like,
I'm just
you
rewatching
get Danny
the current
Rick in
season,
your
actually.
system because he can be that face. Because Max
Sure.
don't
Yeah.
want to be the face.
No,
Max
he
just
don't-
wants
yeah,
to drive a car really fast and win.
Yeah. He's good.
But Danny will be the media presence you need him to be.
And he enjoys it.
He does.
Oh man, do we? Oh, man.
But I think he would enjoy it more if he was
If
in
he
a
was
race.
racing.
if he was in a Red Bull, yeah, for sure.
By the end of
Absolutely.
the year, he looked rough. He looked like he had to jump into rehab or something. You know?
Well, he also
From all the
commented,
media presence.
He also commented I'd much rather be driving than doing this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Danny Rick to Red Bull by the end of the season. With that, let's go into news. Heading right into the news. Obviously, we'll start off with Newey, Adrian Newey. I saw something come up, and I don't know how true it is, so if you guys want to blast me, that's fine. But Newey allegedly now not going to Ferrari. I saw that. Now he's kind of allegedly making a decision between McLaren and Aston. However, he's making these comments, quote, "At the same time, I can also take a bit of holiday time. I've been kind of in the business pretty much nonstop for a long time now, so having a little bit of a break is nice."
So this was.
Does he consider calling it quits? I don't think so, but
Do you know the Top Gear guy, the tall guy from Top
Jeremy
Gear?
Clarkson.
Jeremy Clarkson. The rumors with this started because he goes, "I got some tea for you guys or whatever." He's not looking for houses X where you thought he was. He's looking for houses right now here. And that
So he wasn't looking
him,
for houses in Maranello. He was looking
Yes.
for houses in Oxfordshire.
which would more so correlate with like Aston and them.
Yep.
Which, if we go back to week like 4,
Interesting. That's when we were talking about
week 4, I said he was going Aston.
You did.
And then so Jeremy
Hot
Clarkson
sources, dude. Hold up here.
The dark web.
Jeremy Clarkson and Adrian are like old school, like school buddies,
Really?
right? They went to like
That's
college or
interesting.
something together. They've known each other for years.
Yo.
So they're like actual mates.
I didn't even know.
I was wondering, it's a
that.
weird stat to know. Like, how you know where this guy's shopping for houses? You got the same realtor?
They're like they're buddies.
That's interesting. I didn't know
So that adds a little sizzle to the rumor.
There's no way he doesn't
Yeah.
go Ferrari, right?
I've definitely heard. I've heard the same
I
thing.
don't know.
I've heard that either it's.
I'm just.
I've heard that the
flabbergasted
Ferrari
right now.
talks are over. I've heard both
Whoa.
that Ferrari turned down him and that he turned down Ferrari.
How
Whatever
you,
it is.
how you gonna turn down 105, bro?
Every time I see it, I go like this.
Yeah.
Keep swiping.
yeah,
dude.
Yeah,
pretty
because
much.
it's like-
I listen. These are all headlines
wanna
that I'm
see
seeing.
it.
I'm seeing the headlines and I'm like, I don't
Until
really
it's
care.
actually official, we're just not gonna know
Yeah,
what he's gonna
exactly.
do.
So-
This is the.
I feel like Aston is probably the most.
this is
viable.
the Carlos Sainz move right now.
Yeah.
Same thing. We're gonna fall into a trap for a couple weeks on it, and then we will never.
We're in
know.
the trap. We've been in the trap for multiple weeks, months, probably. At this point, we're sitting
we
here in the
still
trap.
might not know until the end of the year. Like,
He's just leading
Yeah.
us along. I'm
Yeah.
done, actually. I call it quits. And then, boom, right before the season starts. Actually, I've been low-key working with Aston this whole
Yeah.
freaking time.
Hey, Newey, you're getting no more airtime here, okay, bud?
At Banter with the boys.
Sign a deal or
So real quick, before we move on with that, if he is actually considering McLaren, and it's allegedly between McLaren, Ferrari, Aston, at this point in his long career, like what would be a good move for him, you think? Like if he's actually looking at performance and wanting to win, and that's what he's making its decision on, not money, not location, like what?
McLaren.
It's-
I mean,
it's
is the
either one.
easy answer.
I think it's
right?
either one, McLaren
Not
or Ferrari.
Aston. Oh, Ferrari. Yeah, like,
McLaren
I don't
or
think.
Ferrari. Yeah.
I think if he goes to, it depends on how he's viewing this, right? If he's looking for legacy,
McLaren.
Aston, because that's going to build it up from the
What?
bottom. If he's looking for, well, I guess how it depends on how you look at
I
legasy,
think
right?
that hurts his legacy
True,
because
true.
of Stroll.
That
It depends,
What's
it
your
depends on how you
definition
look
of
at
legacy?
legacy, right? If you're looking at legacy like, hey, I built this team up when they weren't great, and this is what came of it. We're fighting for constructors. We have a championship. That's one thing. If he's looking to just get the championship ticks on his scorecard, then you go to McLaren or
probably.
Ferrari. But I would say McLaren more so than Ferrari. But he has the championship ticks.
I think there's too much.
He was a part of the Vettel
You think
run
it-
too, was he not?
You think at
Or
65
was he-
years old he wants to rebuild a team now?
I think why would you leave Red Bull if you're looking for championships?
Does he know more than us about Max's future? You know what I mean? And he's like, there's not that many years left with Max there, and I just don't really, I don't see the direction that they're seeing, where they're going.
I think
And
there's
I
too
don't
much.
agree.
There's too much of a dark cloud around Aston and like their ownership and like the reason that they have Stroll rate. Like I think there's too much of a dark cloud that I don't think that's good for his story at all. I think if you want to build for legacy and story, and if that's what he wants to go for, it's either McLaren or Ferrari. You take a team like Ferrari, who's prestigious, bring them back to the championship. That's great. McLaren, who hasn't won in a while, prestigious. They're on the up and coming, and you give them something to catapult to win for a couple of years. These are both better for your legacy than I think bringing Aston to win a championship.
But I get what you're saying. Like if you're solely basing it on championship ticks, why do you leave Red Bull then at this
I
point?
don't.
I think you nailed it. I would go even a step further. Ferrari's in this really weird position where like they're doing well, but then they're not doing well. So it would be like you're not starting from the ground. You're not starting from the ground. You're starting somewhere decently, and you're bringing a team that has once experienced like a crazy glory. You're bringing them back to that which is pretty cool.
It is
I feel
the
like
pres- it
the
is
thing
the
is,
prestige.
we all know this, right? We all know that if he chooses Aston, he's going for the bag, and that's always going to be in my mind. Future F1 fans won't know this, all right? I'll be sitting there with my tinfoil hat on, knowing that he went for the money, and I will.
Do you think that Aston's offering more than 3 years, 104?
Probably.
Oh,
I think his pockets are endless. I think Stroll could get him whatever he wanted to. If it means he's getting that championship, I think he can.
And
get
what
it.
was it? Your
hold on.
top 3 team members or whatever can be paid whatever the heck, and it
Yup.
doesn't go against the
Yup.
call it the cap.
I don't
or
think
whatever.
that's out of the picture, right?
that's
Because
just
you
saying-
work
That's what
whatever
I mean.
into the
He's
cap.
gonna get.
That's
yeah.
just saying he wants
Still
the bag.
unlimited.
I don't know what he wants.
But hold on. I got a side note on this. Do you think there's pushback from Lewis to get Newey on Ferrari because he wants to go and win in a Ferrari without there being that overhanging Newey helping him win? Like Newey leads Lewis to his 8th.
I
Or
don't.
not.
I think Lewis has
In-
seen enough that he wanted to make that switch, or he just really, like, in his soul wanted to race for Ferrari someday.
I think there's
Making
only
it
really
happen,
like one
but-
way to look at it. In 20 years, nobody's going to say, people are going to look at it and say Lewis's 8th were WDC to break the tie with Schumacher. They're not going to say Lewis wins the 8th to break that tie with Newey. Newey's going to be forgotten with whatever success they had in 20 years. If you're looking at like Lewis's individual legacy, I don't think that's I don't think Lewis would stop
Depends
that.
how deep of an F1 fan you are. I would imagine.
Yeah. I think if you actually
I
like
think Newey's
understand and watch
holds
the sport,
enough weight.
Well, I'm saying like
But-
if you look at it like in the deep F1 fans, yeah, right. The deep F1 fans are also
have to
going to
really
look at
nerd
the
out on it,
2021 like, oh, should have Lewis. There's always going to be those deep guys, but the headlines aren't going to be Lewis wins with Newey's help. In 15,
Sure.
20
Yeah,
years.
it's not. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's gonna kind of be a forgotten afterthought, kind of.
I think you'd be an absolute fool if you're an F1 driver and you want to turn down Adrian Newey.
yeah.
Yeah.
The more I said it, the more I was like, yeah. He just wants that title. He just wants that title. He'll cheat. He'll cheat it. He'll cheat in a couple of years. He'll be cheating to try to get that title.
Yeah, it's like
needs that
he
before
turns into
goes.
Max's regressor, you know.
Yeah.
But to the Ferrari point, they're bringing back Ferrari to that state, right? They haven't had a WDC since 2007,
Mhm.
and I think McLaren Lewis was in 08,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're talking 15, almost 20 years of not winning that WDC. I do think that would be them making that like, okay, let's get back to it, and then
Dude,
and then Newey also brings back whatever to.
so
Yeah,
I
so I
you
can see
didn't-
that as that.
You didn't say this, but I heard Williams was on there too.
Williams isn't good. There's no chance.
You imagine bringing Williams back to championships though?
Now that
I mean, that would be a
pretty
legacy
fun,
statement.
actually.
They
Over
would've seen
Aston, I
that,
feel like
yeah.
that'd be a bigger legacy statement.
Yeah,
but
they'd have a trophy there. They'd have a statue of Newey.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say I hope they'd have the trophy there, but yeah.
They changed the name from Williams to Newey.
Yeah, Williams
Williams Newey. Moving on. I heard rumors this week of Toyota partnering with Haas for their I don't know, power plants, whatever you want to call them, engines.
Power units.
Power units, there we go. Partnering with Haas for 25 or 26, and then I just saw today actually that Haas has now agreed with Ferrari to stay their engine provider through 2028. So
So I think
but
it was like
they're still keeping Toyota in mind for past that.
I think they're looking at it as more of an actual sponsor than like the power units.
I saw they were thinking about changing the whole power unit.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, but I
then
can see
it
them trying to
came
like
out,
just.
like yesterday, actually, big deal that they stayed with Ferrari.
But I mean, I could see it also them just like getting a sponsorship because they're not repping Ferrari, right? Like Ferrari's not paying them any money to use their engine. Like, it's the opposite.
Right.
So I think that like Toyota could ease their way in there into a sponsorship and then like, hey, this is what we can build you if you want to just go with Toyota and we can make our move.
For sure.
So speaking of engines, I also heard, speaking of the hat here too, I heard McLaren, Zach Brown, right?
Yep.
He was looking for sponsorship with Red Bull to get their engine.
Really?
But they're going to Ford.
Oh,
2026.
that's right, they are going to Ford.
So are they? Do you think they're going for a Ford?
It
power
might have
unit?
been. Now I'm thinking it was Ferrari that he was talking to. But
Ferrari?
there's something came out recently where he was talking to somebody about.
Joe's on it.
Yeah, Joe's
Got
on
this.
it. But there's somebody. He was
Interesting.
talking to somebody about trying to partner with them for a power
Oh
unit.
no, they extended their deal with Mercedes to 2030.
Oh snap, McLaren.
Yeah.
Oh snap.
Dark web ain't always right, huh?
I'll double check. This is a weird site.
Them sources are
Oh, it's
getting a little
Reuters,
blurry,
actually. It's not a weird site. It's a pretty good site, actually. Yeah. That is interesting, though.
What am I thinking of right now?
I don't know, dude. Because Red Bull, like the
Yeah, no, I think you're
RBPU
right.
is gone.
So, okay, the whole like conversation around power units in general is interesting because Red Bull's
is,
going
actually.
with Ford. RB, are they going with Ford too, or are they sticking with Honda?
I think they're sticking with
I
Honda.
think
Is
so
what I
too.
actually saw.
So we're gonna have
That's rather
6
interesting.
power units. We're gonna have
How would they do
Ford. We're at Red Bull Ford. We're gonna have Honda.
That's
We're gonna have
be weird.
Mercedes. We're gonna have
Red Bull
Ferrari.
Ford.
We're gonna have Renault still. So stupid. And we're going to have Audi with their own power unit too.
That's interesting. When was the last time we had 6 different power units?
I think
on the
it's been a
grid?
minute. I
Since maybe the
I
like the
don't know,
Lotus
but-
days, because that Lotus engine
Yeah,
was a
probably.
burner. But
Probably.
you just listen to that thing in the old Kimmy videos, bro. That engine
who's
just,
back
who's
then
got the
were
Renault
it just
engine?
sounded
Is
like
that
it was
Alpine?
burning a
Yeah.
hole
Yeah,
through the
Alpine's
ozone.
Yeah.
Just a bad engine. Just a bad engine.
Bad car.
Bad car in general.
Bad track record for
drivers.
the team.
Did you guys see that Max
Central.
quote where he asked like what the best car he ever drove was or his favorite car, and he came out and I don't remember the exact model, but it was like the RB like 16 or something that he won. I don't think he won his first championship with, but it was like the year before or something. It was something like that. And he's like, the only thing that like sucked was the top end speed because he just called out the Renault engine.
Oh,
And then
did he
his
have a-
next favorite cars were the last 2 years.
Were they with Renault when they won?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
that's wait, no. Well, because
You're talking about Max's first one?
that's what you were saying. That's what Max had said. I could have sworn he only started winning when they had Honda. But like, what did Vettel
2022
have?
was first. 2022 was
So
the first
he-
year of the Honda. So Max's first championship
Wow,
was with the
on
Renault.
Renault?
Vettel's was all Renault.
Vettel? Okay, so
Renault used Renault since like the
used to
start,
be
and then they
good.
went
Yeah.
to their own.
Yeah,
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, Renault used to. They used to have a. Well, Lotus was also Alpine Renault.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
obviously,
think it actually was a Renault engine. I don't think it was Lotus's engine, but
that's
it is crazy to have 6 power units, but isn't it kind of crazy how many different teams share a power unit? Don't you think
No.
It
about-
is. That's
not crazy
that
to me
kind
at all.
of
That always blows my mind.
well,
I feel like
I guess
if
it's
you're one of the
similar
top
to NASCAR
teams,
too. Now that I think about it.
but if you're one of the top teams, why not like why wouldn't McLaren try to put their own engine in the car? I get that, but like if you're trying to win championships, I don't know. I just
But
feel
if
like
you can already
that's-
buy a
that
somewhat
money's
like a good
so-
developed engine, I guess. Like that's
that money, like to develop an engine versus buy one.
But
at
I don't know.
that level.
And then you have to look at the actual manufacturing of what goes into the engine to get it to this engine that I've previously bought. Because you can take the engine and modify it however you want, right? It's just the
Yeah.
main power unit that's designed
For
that you're
sure.
buying. But it's like, it's so much. And it's like, if somebody were to do that, you're starting that like this year to hopefully get it in 2026, right? You're not making
Right.
that switch and having it ready to go.
It just blows my mind kind of.
No, it is something
It's
interesting
like it's
to think
just so
about.
weird to me.
I was about to bring up
Like,
NASCAR, but I was like,
competitors.
they do the same thing.
But like competitors,
They buy other teams' engines.
like McLaren,
all the time.
like McLaren and Mercedes have the same engine. Like,
Yeah, I
it just
used
blows
to-
my mind.
I think
Like,
when
why
I
not try to like
first-
mess with that thing a little bit?
No.
Well, you
Send-
do.
Send,
You
send, send a
essentially-
dud one.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure there's stipulations and whatnot in those contracts, dude. You're
Send them
talking
bad engines.
I don't even want to imagine what the cost of a single power unit is, and then you're buying what 5 or 6 for the year, if not
Yeah.
more than that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think when I
Insane.
first started watching and like participating,
Yeah.
I definitely think I was like, but they like have the same engine, so they have some kind of partnership, right? But like obviously it's all behind the scenes and it's definitely nothing to
Right.
do on track. They're gonna fight each other no matter
100%.
what.
And some of
Yeah.
them do
Yeah.
have that partnership, right? Haas to Ferrari, Williams to Mercedes.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
it's-
yeah,
but
like,
then you
we
look
don't
at
see-
McLaren and
when we go
Mercedes.
on track, you don't see those partnerships happening.
Oh, no.
unless
No.
you're like a
They're
like
racing each
maybe
other.
like an RB and a Red Bull. But even then, I feel like that's probably pretty far fetched. That'd be
Well,
crazy.
they're never in.
It would be crazy to see
contention
like
with each
Danny
other.
helping like Max somehow or something like that.
The
That
only
would be
time I could
crazy.
see that happening would be in like quality to get like a toe to get
Ah,
somewhere.
man,
you know,
that
that's
would-
the only
I feel like
time
that
I
would
could
throw
see
some
that.
headlines, dude. Like that would.
I think that's why, because
Yeah.
Red Bull, like as much as they want to say
would
that,
be
like
interesting.
a Racing
yeah,
Bulls
it's like,
Arthur
oh, so you
Junior
guys just
program.
have 2 teams. Like that's fun, right?
Red Bull's gotten a lot
That's
of flack
fun for
for that.
everyone.
Yeah, that's great.
Cole just
So,
stopped watching F1 because of Red Bull would have 4 cars.
But on that, you were saying that Racing Bull is going to stay on with.
I think they're staying on with Honda instead of going on to the Ford.
Do you think that's because
Honda
they're
is
using the
still-
old car? The Racing Bull is using the previous year's car. So do you think they
that's a
only
good
stay on
point.
another year?
And then
Ooh,
switch to
then
Ford
switch to
the
Ford?
following year.
Maybe it seems interesting that maybe
Because
the
they're using
only
their own
reason I
old
say
car right
that-
We're
now.
going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, the only reason I
Yeah.
say that I'm pretty sure RB is staying on Honda is because Honda's listed. They're the only car that would be on Honda. No other car would have it.
Yeah.
So why would they list them as a power unit if not? Unless they just don't know yet. Like it's also possible. I
That's a
guess.
good point because they would
Right.
they probably would be
They
running
probably
this
they
year's
wouldn't
car.
say
So
it. Yeah, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right there.
what are you pulling up over there before we move on?
I'm looking to. Yep, The Racing Bulls and Red Bull will both use the Ford branded engine.
Oh,
So what are they doing with
wow.
Honda?
Honda's going away.
They're just.
I think that's
taking
why they're going to Ford. Is Honda so Honda came out a year or two ago and said we're going to stop making these engines, and then Red Bull's like, here's some money. At least give me to this year. So essentially that deal was so that Red Bull could find an engine manufacturer and allow them to build something so they could at least have an engine for that time. And then it was decided, boom, 2026. And then they went with Ford, and then Honda essentially extended their contract with them to say, hey, we're going to produce this many more engines for this time. That's what surprises me the most about Newey leaving Red Bull is if you're going to leave when the new powertrain comes in, take advantage of what you're doing right now. Especially with how involved he is in the hypercar, because Red Bull just released their hypercar. Thing looks
good, by the way.
phenomenal.
Looks sick. Yeah.
Looks phenomenal. That thing is just clean.
Looks like a Hot Wheels car. It
does. It's literally their F1 car with a body wrap.
Yeah.
But it's
cool. It was
so
cool seeing-
clean.
Yeah, it was-
Isn't it like 6 mil?
Something like that. Yeah,
Something crazy.
That sounds right. Actually,
It was cool seeing Newey talk about how when he's working the F1 car, you only can think about aerodynamics and how it's going to be best on track. But he's with this one, I actually got to think creatively about it. So it's really
Probably
cool to see that.
refreshing.
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah, really see that come.
I wonder
to
if
life.
that's the thing. If he goes to Ferrari for the F1 team, and then he can maybe work his hand into some Ferrari stuff too outside
Yeah,
of F1.
I was
Maybe
thinking he
that's a
probably
factor,
enjoys
but I don't
doing
know.
that. Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it's not only that, it's
his
Le
way in,
Mans,
you know?
right? That's what you're designing your hypercar for is
Yeah,
for Le
right,
Mans. So
right.
you would have to
Sure.
think that whoever he goes, he's going to have a
They'd be
plan
bringing
in
him
Le
in there.
Mans.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd have to.
Yeah.
I also don't think you're going to pay somebody $35 million a year for just an F1.
Right. Well,
And I think, to be honest with you,
it's still Adrian Newey.
but
so
I think, to be
don't
honest with you, I think Newey would want that other, I think that would be
Another
part of
outlet
his
or something
stipulation
else. Yeah.
was, hey, I have to be
Yeah.
involved in this and
Yeah.
this and this, or maybe just the Le Mans car or whatever, or what are they called, enduro cars?
Do you
Something
think
like that,
he's
yeah.
just an outside the box thinker?
Why'd you look at me and say it like that?
that's bothersome.
What do you guys think about Newey? He's cool.
Oh my god. Clip that. Anyway, moving on in the news, staying with Haas real quick. Bierman finally signs with Haas for next year. We knew that was coming. Allegedly rumors of Ocon to Haas. Did you put that on there, Joe?
I did.
Who the hell
Yeah.
would put that man in a car next year?
What's your dark web say, Cole? Ocon to Haas?
I mean, for a long time, it was Ricardo to Haas. That's what it was for a good amount of time. I don't know now. Now I've heard.
Now,
I've
I'm
heard
starting
everybody.
to think that your dark web sources are just your brain.
No, this is like 4 or 5 weeks ago. They were saying this.
right. I remember
back when Ricardo wasn't doing good.
I remember it being brought up.
Yeah, when
Oh,
he
wow.
wasn't doing good.
So the most recent news is that there's been a lot of expectation in the paddock that Esteban Ocon will join Haas, but Valtteri Bottas is still in the mix. So
He's.
Now,
I think-
between
I
the
think-
two,
yeah.
that's interesting.
I feel like Bottas is going to Williams if there's still a seat open.
there is just
I
Albon's
agree.
confirmed.
I agree.
I think
Just
it's really
it just
between
makes
Haas
sense.
and
That's where it
Williams for him.
started.
See,
you know,
that'd be a
so-
good move for Bottas.
And then he's
I
still in
think
the
that would make
Mercedes
sense.
family.
Yeah,
Because let's think of it, right? You put him in that
Yes.
Williams, and then next year you put Kimi in the seat. He's not performing. It's a lot easier to swap Bottas than Albon.
would be
Oh.
wild. That would be wild. I don't
Why?
think it's ever
Why
going
would
to
it be?
happen.
I mean,
Because
yeah,
it's a
'Cause Bottas has
it's like
experience.
he
Racing
does.
Bull.
He does, and
Yeah.
he'd be a perfect number 2 to George now.
And it's like a racing bull. That's wow.
Yeah.
That is, why not go rookie then? Why not go Kimi?
I think
Crazy.
Kimi is the only answer for Mercedes next year at this
It's-
point.
Other than Sainz.
I think you're probably right. I think
Sainz
there's
I don't
Bottas for
think
Williams
Sainz
makes
is.
so much sense.
Yeah.
It'd be better situation probably for him anyway right now.
They
but-
probably want him to retire in the family too.
You think so?
I'm sure he would like to do
I
that.
think Toto and him, because Toto and him always had a really good relationship. Even in Drive to Survive, they sat down and they had their that table
Yeah.
and they discussed it. And Valtteri was like, "Hey, I get it, man. You got to go with the young buck who is when he was on Williams, George Russell was termed as the next champion.
Oh,
the
for
WEC,
sure. No, they
right?
definitely talked about him a lot.
So, and
He
then
was always- yeah.
Valtteri, he completely understood. I think there's always going to be that mutual respect where I could see him doing that, last ride, put him in a Mercedes and keep him in the family. Yeah, I like that idea actually.
I like your thought, dude. I like your thought a lot. You can feel good putting a risky guy in that spot because if it fails, okay, let's put him down for Williams for 2 years or a year.
Mhm.
Well, so then that just brings up the next point here to round out our news is Joe, did you also put that in there?
I did.
How Williams states they're not looking to be a quote stepping stone team for if Sainz wants to get in there to get somewhere else.
Yeah, I have.
But then we're talking about Bottas maybe.
Yeah, I have thoughts on this
that'd be a different
because
situation.
it was like Sainz to Williams for a while was like the rumor, and I think he's rumored to be on every single team from all the headlines that I've seen, right? So I think, and nowadays it's probably Alpine that he's rumored for, but like, Vowles had there was an article that came out with Vowles saying that he left, like he was winning at Mercedes, right? He didn't come to Williams, to feed Mercedes more. Like he was already on that team. He wants to build Williams into like a better team. He does not want to be a stepping stone. And I was like, well, you don't want to be the stepping stone, but that's exactly what you're going to be until you can make a car that can compete like consistently all the time. Like I don't think Albon's a bad driver, and obviously he can't get like amazing points all the time. So stuff still needs to be figured out. You come to like the race with a single like replacement chassis. You have to give your car to your other driver. It's stuff that does not promote a team that will grow into a legacy like it already has. Like you went to this team obviously to make it your own and whatever. You just can't have that yet. So that's the only reason that I put that there.
You don't turn down Sainz if he wants to go to Williams.
That's what I would think.
I think that's what it'll come down to money at that point is the only thing.
Yeah.
Sainz can join and say, hey, I'm at my stepping stone right now. And they'd go, cool, thanks for driving for us.
That's what I'm thinking too, right? That's what I'm thinking too. He's going there. And I'm sure like the reason why that came up is because, conversation came up was like Sainz could come to you for like, hey, let me drive for you for 1 year so I can go and be an Audi after that or something like that. Right. And I'm sure maybe that isn't how the conversation went, and he's just covering himself a little bit and saying, no, we're not a stepping stone team.
Yeah, for sure.
We're an F1 team.
But I mean, at the same time, like I get the Williams mindset there, right? If you're only going to have Sainz for a year, you're going to pay him a lot more than you're going to pay Valtteri or one of these other drivers. Yeah. Like, is he going to finish high enough in the constructor, in the WDC to put you above that level in the constructors where you're going to make that money back instead of investing in somebody possibly of the future?
For sure.
So I totally get that Williams mindset too, though.
It's a good mindset to have. It's just, I don't know, in bad timing, I think. I just don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, with that, we'll close out our news. And right back at it with our Hungarian preview. Go ahead and let Joe take it away with the history of the Hungry Grape.
Yeah.
Jeez, Hungarian GP. Just take it away, Joe. Do your thing.
Okay. We're looking forward to the Formula One Oh no, you got me doing that.
No, I'm messing you up.
Hungarian Grand Prix 2024. Just another fun fact per usual. Ocon took his maiden F1 win in 2021 here, and George claimed his first F1 pole in 2022 at this track. I feel like we usually see a bit of action turn one here. So I'm hoping for a little more carnage early on. Last year we saw crazy qualifying positions from the Sauber team. We saw Zhou in 5th and Bottas in 7th, beating out Sergio and Carlos both. I don't think we're going to see that this year, but still kind of crazy that we saw it last year. Looking at our starting grid, we saw Lewis to Max to Lando to Oscar. In turn one, we saw wheel-to-wheel action between Max and Lewis as the current WDC gets ahead to first. Meanwhile, from 4th, Oscar covers both his teammate and Lewis to slide into 2nd place after the first turn. Lando quickly overtook Lewis on the outside of the next corner for a 2-3 McLaren running early in the race. Further down the grid, the first turn, we saw some contact from our favorite teammates, Ocon and Pierre, after Zhou locked up into the back of Danny, who ran into the Alpines. Both of those cars retired after a heavy wing and wheel damage were sustained. We got to witness some world-class defending from Alonso in 7th. I feel like I've seen multiple different scenarios where Alonso's defending here, and he's just doing great. He's defending against Sergio behind on lap 6. He was able to hold him off for a couple more laps until Checo took the position in lap 8. Lap 19, after a round of pits from McLaren, Norris was able to outpace a very quick 2-second pit stop from Piastri and got ahead into 2nd right out of the pit exit into turn 1. Charles, who had been having a very clean race, got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane after locking up right at the entry line. And then Checo, who had a mega recovery from quali, found fourth place from PS3, thank you, on lap 47, a net third place after pit stops. Across the finish line, 33 seconds ahead of second place, Max Verstappen took first place at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So our final was Verstappen to Norris, Perez to Hamilton, Piastri to Russell, Leclerc to Sainz, and then Alonso to Stroll. This was Max's 7th victory in a row and Red Bull's 12th win in a row, a consecutive record breaker. Verstappen was caught saying, "What an unbelievable rocket ship that was today. That was very enjoyable." 33 seconds. Man, last year was boring. Oh, I'm sure I hated that race, dude.
Didn't we see a 33-second win by Verstappen this season too?
What's that, 33?
Or like it would have been early, but I thought it was like really early.
I'm sure we've definitely had a long one from Verstappen.
But that's ridiculous. Like that's just ridiculous.
And he started in second, but still, it's crazy, dude.
No, that's
so
insane.
Verstappen's first win was 22. Then Saudi was 13. And then Australia was 2, and he hasn't had a go away. So it's 22.
Okay.
But last year, 30 seconds for a Verstappen win was normal.
Yeah, that was completely normal. No, just straight Red Bull dominance all season.
Man.
No, I mean, what's interesting is obviously we know how important practice is leading up to the weekend, obviously. And right now, as of like 30 minutes ago, the pit lane is still flooded, like ankle deep. So we'll see if they can actually. Now, the weather for the weekend, I've already looked. Obviously, how do you say the track? The Hungaroring?
Hungarian.
Hungaroring.
Hungaroring?
Oh,
Hungaroring, yes.
Hungaroring.
Hungaroring.
3 times.
Yeah, no thanks. Just outside Budapest, so I already looked up the weather, and it looks like it's going to be dry for the weekend, but like, it's interesting if they, let's say, can't practice on Friday. You know what I mean? I feel like every session is important.
But does that just hurt the young drivers this weekend? Isn't there a couple young drivers that are coming in to try out the car?
I think you're right.
They did that last weekend.
No, I think you're right. I think there is.
They can have as many as they want.
Yeah, they definitely can. I don't know.
I thought that. Not Ali, but what's the guy's name?
I thought Jack Doohan was maybe going to come in.
No, who's a backup reserve for Mercedes?
Kimmy.
Yeah.
Antonelli.
No, it's Mick.
Mick
Schumacher.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mick.
I saw
I'm
something
sorry.
about Mick.
I saw something about Mick.
Yeah, I did too. No, you're right. It's probably not from a reliable source, but I saw something about Mick.
Hey,
you know,
I'm like 95% on.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying what I saw. I don't think it was from a reliable source.
Some of the stuff you said earlier this year, like you said Checo was not going to get like in top 5. We all thought that was wild, and that's happening. Like that's crazy.
So far,
man.
I need to start putting these bets in. I gotta find a place to do it.
You gotta drive south, buddy. Like what? 2 hours, and then you can.
Oh man,
Diamond Joe's.
Yeah. I don't know. We were talking before we started recording that who was it? Ferrari and not Mercedes.
Ferraris and Red Bull are both bringing upgrades, but Ferraris isn't necessarily as much of an upgrade as like a revert. But they're still making modifications to it. It's not just the exact same old floor.
Okay.
And Red Bull, you can't find any information on Red Bull because it's Red Bull.
They're calling it major upgrades, and Helmut Marko saying that it's just needs to change what happens, or else they're screwed, which is true, right?
I saw the same thing though, like the same caption around Ferrari. Major upgrades coming, then Ferrari releases it and something like this.
Yeah,
Maybe they're describing last year's car, Red Bull.
Even the last time it was for Ferrari, like it was before Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. It was like, major upgrades coming, and Carlos came out. No, it wasn't before Monaco. I want to say it was the weekend before or after, but he was like, it was like 0.1. I can't tell you the exact times, but it wasn't as big as the media was making it out.
Yeah, I think you're.
It was supposed to be half a second. It was like
it was supposed to be like
or something probably.
No, it was at Monaco, but they didn't see it at Monaco. They would have saw it the next race because it was more for the
next race was Spain, and that's when the car actually took a downfall because of the porpoising that they're now trying to fix.
Yeah, for sure. With that, you might as well give us an update. Kind of on our personal podium.
We can probably just skip this part, right?
and then let us know what our bonus points are going to be this week.
We'll do. So after last week, we had a Lewis Max Lando podium. Nobody got all 3 points. I myself got 2, so I'm still in the lead at 24. Cole himself got 2 as well, so he is second in 23. Smelty, you also got yourself 2. So you're at third and 22. And Joe, you only snagged 1 point last week at
rigged.
18.
It's rigged.
And
Still not
then
that far
our
back,
bonus question last week was who's going to finish 8th place. None of us got it. So no bonus points awarded last week.
I
so
should get a negative point since my driver didn't even complete a lap. My 8th place driver, Gasly, retired immediately.
Oh, yeah. So in that case, then Smelty has 21.
No, it was a joke. It was a joke. We don't need to make it reality.
So this week we're gonna throw a kind of wild card out there. The bonus point is going to be the bonus 2 points. My apologies is going to be who is leading at the end of lap 35, which is the halfway point of the 70 lap race.
So it's as soon as he passes on lap 35, so it'll pop up as lap 36 on the.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, so whoever crosses the finish line,
No,
whoever leads lap 35.
Out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as soon as it
Finishes
says
lap
lap
35.
36, who crossed that line?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yes.
Yep. So as the new way we are doing it here, I will go first here. I am going to go with Lewis, George, and Lando this week.
Lewis, George,
And
Lando.
is my podium.
Whoa,
And,
no Max.
no
hey.
Max in the podium this week.
Oh.
And I think that George is going to be the halfway point leader.
Ooh.
That would go next to Cole.
Yeah. Now I want to switch my halfway leader. I was gonna.
You were gonna go George?
Yeah.
I was gonna go George too.
I'm gonna do Lewis, George, Verstappen. And I was gonna do George halfway. I'm gonna do Lando halfway.
Lando halfway. Okay.
He's
Next
gonna pit
we-
late.
Okay.
Or something. I don't know.
Next we
Yeah.
have Smelty.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going crazy. Max, Lando, Piastri for my podium, and then leading halfway. Those are both really good picks. We'll go Max.
Yeah, just do
We'll
it.
go
I was gonna
Max.
say just do it.
Yeah. It'll be like halfway. I don't think he'll win the race, honestly, to be honest with you, but I think halfway, sure. Whatever. Safe bet, right?
I think it's going to be in no particular order, obviously. Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton. I was going to say Max halfway, but in the spirit of being different, I'll say Lewis.
Checo.
I like that. We have 3 different podiums
Yeah.
this week. Nobody repeated their podium.
And it's funny how that is actually changing now. To look at what the podiums are at the beginning of the year, and now looking at it now it's starting to get a little bit more unpredictable.
We'd only get one different in the beginning of the year. There'd be like 1 or 2 guys that had a different third place.
Yeah, it was Max, Checo, and then like, who do you want, Charles or Carlos?
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
maybe.
To think that Cole and I picked Lewis week 1 was kind of silly in the retrospect.
Yeah, we both didn't have Checo in there.
Yeah, neither one of us said.
With that wraps our podium predictions for the Hungarian GP. Got it right.
Nice.
Obviously, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, join us. We got a show next week, right?
Yeah,
What? What's funny?
You didn't get it right. It's Hungaroring.
Well, no, the name of the Grand
It's the
Prix.
Hungarian
He's out of
Grand
the
Prix at the
conversation.
Hungaroring.
Oh.
Yeah, say it.
This year it is the Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix 2024.
Where's it
at
located?
the Hungaroring.
In Budapest.
Yes.
Near Budapest.
Just outside of
Near
Budapest.
Budapest. Yeah.
So it's not. You know what? We're just gonna wrap it. Like, comment, subscribe, Banter with the boys. You already know. Peace.
Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Tune in next time for more Banter with the boys.